Hey, it's John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and it's The Entrepreneurial You, the show for dedicated and passionate Caribbean entrepreneurs seeking daily inspiration, brought to you by author, speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur Heneka Watkis-Porter. You must be prepared to ignite.
Financial peace isn't the acquisition of stuff. It's learning to live on less than you make so you can give money and have money to invest. You can't win until you do this. Dave Ramsey. Hello. Welcome to episode 98 of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. I'm Heneka Watkis-Porter. Today I am talking with Erik Vos. He is pitch deck coach, 13-time serial entrepreneur, author of 6 books that's translated in 21 languages, speaker, and he's spoken in 8 languages in 91 countries. Our conversation today will be centered on creating that uber amazing pitch deck that secures investment for your startup. Welcome, Erik.
Thank you, Helen, Heneka.
Awesome. And before we get into the meat of the matter, I want to ask you a fun question. What is the most alarming thing that you ever heard about Jamaica? Or maybe perhaps you know from your visit here.
Well, the most alarming thing was in my own head. I had to go from the hotel to the McDonald's, and it was a Sunday morning, and there was nothing there. But it was only in my head. So it's either that, or it's maybe the generosity that too much money gets spent.
Much money from whose end? From your?
It's very appropriate that you say this. Living within your means. Mm-hmm. It would be very good on a country level. Also, the IMF would definitely agree with that. But I liked Jamaica. I was there a couple of times. Enjoyed a lot.
All right. So here is what we're going to be talking about, creating that uber amazing pitch deck that secures investment for your startup. It's all about investment, but it's all about the pitch deck as well that, will guarantee or help to guarantee the investment for your startup. So what is a pitch deck and what is it used for?
The essence is 2 people go to the beach on a Saturday night. They drink a lot of beer, get very drunk, and decide that they want to start a business and get rich. Then they sit down, work with PowerPoint, and flip out something. They got a bunch of pictures, and then they think they're going to send us here, there, and everywhere. And then people with very deep pockets will call them in a very excited way on the phone and then throw money at them. I'm being cynical. I'm from Holland. They start on a napkin. Now, I'm not against that. There's many beliefs. One of the beliefs is that if you save enough, you'll be rich, which is not true. You first have to save what you make, and if you don't make it, you'll stay poor forever. The second belief is if you have the perfect pitch deck, then the VCs will be calling on your phone like teenage boys. And that's just not true. So the thing is, there is no perfect pitch deck, because a perfect pitch deck is a pitch deck that, or a bunch of slides, so to speak, that a person with a lot of money sees, and then he can't wait to throw his money at you. This is optimistic.
You don't have a perfect one, but of course we have guidelines to make it more investor friendly.
Well, yeah, but can I be very honest here? That'd be very nice. I mean, I'm afraid I've got the negative, as you can guess. It's like when a boy is supposed to meet a girl, his father can give him advice, and he should. But most of the advice is what not to do, right? So in other words, there's 1,000 ways to do it wrong and only a couple, 1 or 2 or 3 to do it right, if that makes sense. It's a skill like any other skill, and you're asking a lot of money.
We're going to go into what should a pitch deck include.
More is less. Now, the normal investor per day gets about 100 pitch decks in the mail, right? Which is a lot. And then it's 98% he still has to do his job. So the thing is, the person making the pitch deck does not see the other 98, 99 pitch decks in the investors in basket. So it's called short, sweet, and make your point in the first slide. So in other words, don't leave it to the end, because very few VCs ever get to the end. It's like a book, you got to have a good opening line, and the opening line is never you. A VC invests because, like everybody, he takes the risk with his money because he hopes to get 4, 5, 10, 20 times more money, just like the lottery. And 100 times is even better. So it has to be. So when you design a pitch deck, you don't think about your side of the story and how special and great you are. Maybe you are. Hopefully you are. You think, if I would be sitting, behind a screen, kind of like looking for the next big thing, which VCs do, then you would have to admit that you would be motivated by two things, the usual things in capitalism: fear and greed. Greed, because you want 10 times your money, just like the lottery. Fear, here's another bunch of kids that want to build a golden statue of themselves for my money. Here's people that think they're geniuses because they don't know what the competition is doing. Here's a bunch of people who are like incredibly optimistic, which is great, but why can't they be optimistic from their own money? They don't know what they're talking about. They're trying to solve a problem that only they think exists because they thought about it. They don't have enough experience. They can talk a good deal, but can they pull it off? I mean, there's 1,000 ways to lose money, so to speak. So he's very fearful. So you need to address those fears. And then at the same time, obviously, addressing the fears is not good enough. The greed for him needs to be much bigger than the fear, right? It's kind of not so complicated if you look at it, right?
We're making the assumption that not everybody is aware of what a pitch deck really is. Maybe we have some startups that are just joining us. And so we're taking it from the point of view that, they're not so aware of what a pitch deck is.
A pitch deck is about 12 slides that kind of like explain how the person is going to make money by investing in your business, to put it in a very simple way, right?
In those 12 slides, what are some of the things that, we must include in our slides? We're talking about the metrics and the vision, how we lose the money and all of those things. So just kind of take us through of what must be included in that pitch deck for it to be even considered.
The first thing that needs to be included is the investor thinking, am I going to make some money here, right? Most startups think if they follow the rules, they're good boys and girls, just like in school, and they pass the investment grade. And that doesn't work that way because everybody's following the rules, right? So it's not that you follow the 12 holy rules because everybody else does too, because they want money. The first thing that should be on a pitch deck is the problem. Like, which problem are you gonna solve? Let's take a Jamaican problem, jerk chicken. I don't know what the problem is, but I'll just give that as an example. Let's say jerk chicken doesn't taste as good as it used to. I don't know if it does, but let's say, right? This is causing great hardship to the jerk chicken vendors, to the people, and even the tourists write nasty comments about jerk chicken is going down. Let's say, I don't know. Solution: chicken are being fed the wrong corn. Solution: this low-cost Jamaican corn grown locally is even cheaper than what they have now, right? And will get jerk chicken tasting just as good as 20 years ago. Here's how we do it. That was just a silly example, but you get the point, right? So in other words, you state the problem. Many pitch decks, the kids invent a problem, and then they say they are the solution.
So we talked about what the problem is that we're facing. And for the investor side, how am I going to make money? Just take us some other things that need to be in that pitch deck.
Well, okay, so that's the verse. Now, the problem needs to be stated in a monetary way. And a venture capitalist is a venture capitalist, like with capital. So, in other words, a problem is not that, his wife is not nice to him or the sun is not shining. The problem is there's a need which has a financial implication. So the first page should be problem and then explain what financial consequences that problem has. So it's a bit of an economic statement, if that makes sense. A lot of pitch decks kind of like start with a what we call NGO mentality, non-government organization. Like it would be so good if all the cats could walk outside. We let the cats walk outside and this and that, which is very nice for the cats and a good thing. But there's no financial implication, right? Why don't you give us money so we can let the cats walk outside? We have guards on every street corner to keep the dogs away, and you pay. A lot of pitch decks are a little bit like the guy comes in the bar, free beer for everyone that VC there pays.
Let's talk about, how important is a team, not just yourself, but the team that you're working with on your project that you want funded for. How important is that to an investor?
Okay, here's the rule for the investor. An investor, no matter how much he likes the idea, will not invest in you if there is no team. Now, that's not 100% true, 99% true. So, in other words, no team, no investment. Doesn't mean if there's a team, there is an investment. That's the first thing. The second thing is what the investor is asking himself after he understands the need, right? First, he needs to understand, is there a problem that gets solved? Fine. What solution do you have? Can I understand how that is? Yes, I can. Then he says, well, that's great and fantastic, but this now still needs to be done, and you're not going to do it by yourself. He knows that. So the team is very important. Now, the problem on there's a lot of problems. About 40% of the companies that do get money actually fail because of the team, the problem with the team, not the product. So what an investor wants to see is he wants to see people who have not met each other at, we call that an investment accelerator. So what he would like to see is shall we say 2, maybe 3 people, more is not needed, who've been working on some stuff for a while. Let's say at least half a year, but 1 or 2 years is better. So what that means for your listeners is, if you want to have if you want to start up in 2020, already start forming your team now and do projects. It doesn't matter if they're profitable or not. The investor wants to know, have you been together and have you pulled off things, or did you just meet, right?
And as they say, traction speaks louder than words, right? There has to be some traction.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the next thing. That is, you've got this genius idea on let's take our jerk chicken example. Huh?
You love jerk chicken, right?
I love jerk chicken. I took some from Jamaica. My wife likes it too now. So let's take our jerk chicken example. We have grown this in my grandma's backyard, outside of Kingston, near the volcano, and we've grown it for 2 seasons, and we have taken this corn to 15 jerk chicken vendors, and all of them have reordered. And we now want to scale this. Now, an investor is someone who's very good at adding zeros, right? So you say, okay, 100 square meters, 15 vendors, profitable, okay. So if this were to be, say, 50 square kilometers to 15,000 vendors, then it would be so much. That's all they do, is they just add zero. They add zeros, right? So that's called a MVP. That's called a minimum valuable product, like the corn from my grandma's farm that you feed the chicken with, sold to the jive chicken industry, right? So an investor just says, okay, I see how this works, and I can imagine how it works with, like, 100 or 1,000 times bigger, and then he understands the profitability. You see the simplicity. It's not as complicated as people think. It's very difficult to show some form of traction, and that's where the problem is. It's like a boy thinking about a girl. He says, well, I've been thinking about Susan for 5 years. Well, that's not traction, though. Well, then it's okay. That's fine. It's very good. Now, has she ever said hello to you? Well, not yet, but I'm preparing my plan for the last 5 years. Well, maybe she went with you somewhere? No, that is in phase 3. Capitalists are very smart people. And the problem is, founders think they're a little bit like my cat. My cat thinks he's incredibly smart. He goes meow, 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 does a little dance. And then he thinks he gets food because he's 10 times smarter than me, you see? Don't bullshit investors, right? They're incredibly smart people.
We need to touch on use of funds, and we also need to talk about the overall vision and we talked about, the pain, but just a little more about why should someone care about it, the metrics that we need to be factored in when we're preparing our pitch deck, and use of funds and all those things. So let's talk a little about those.
The thing is that the metric is, it's a little bit like which thing should John put on when he meets Susan, right? Does he need brown shoes or black shoes, Does he do his hair to the left or to the right, etc., right? So a capitalist, a VC as it's called, is just a human being who sees something, right? And either the light goes on in his head or it doesn't. And every VC has a little bit of a different area of specialty. And many will say no, and some will say yes if the idea is really good because it's a business idea that they understand. The bottom line is don't give so much information. Just show them what's the basic idea and which problem does it solve, how does it solve it. Do you have what's called the MVP, minimal valuable product, like some stuff that you did in your grandma's yard that you sold in the neighborhood has. So it did exist, and who's going to do all of this? Then usually what founders do, which I disagree with, they do projections. We project in the jerk chicken that in year 1 we do Jamaica. Then we're going to expand this in year 2 to Trinidad, everywhere else. Then in year 5, we finally going to hit Africa, and then all the people in Uganda will eat jerk chicken. Therefore, our turnover will be 10 billion. I don't like to include that. The reason I don't like to include it is because you're doing the venture capitalist's job. He knows much better than the founder does how businesses get bigger. And he knows markets, right? I mean, he's the money expert here. So don't try to play the doctor to the doctor. Besides, you don't know, or why don't you discuss that with him, or at least listen to what he thinks? He knows this much better. Most likely not even an economist, leave alone a venture capitalist. So don't try to fool the venture capitalist.
So we're winding down right now, and I'm going to ask you, Erik, to share your final thoughts and put those in the form of some really salient and solid tips to how to create or what to include in the pitch deck. Just give a nice summary of what we've said in terms of putting our pitch deck together. And at the end of that, share how our listeners or peak performers might be in touch with you. And I know you have a giveaway, which I'm going to ask you to talk about as well. So go ahead and make that summary.
So here's the bottom line. The one with the prettiest pitch deck is not the one that wins, right? I'll give you an example. Just an hour ago, I was looking at a pitch deck from an Israeli medical company that just got funded for $2 million. Can you believe it? Now, the pitch deck is so ugly. I mean, your grandmother makes better pitch decks. It's got spelling errors. The graphics are terrible. Color combinations couldn't possibly be worse, right? The graphics look like they're from the 50s. They did everything wrong. And it doesn't matter. It still got funded. So don't think if my pitch deck is good enough, I'll get in the money. So stop thinking about so much about the Photoshop. start thinking, what is the real value? My last takeaway is make your pitch deck and then give it to the friend. And then say, okay, imagine that you're a venture capitalist and you get this. Would you put your money in this, yes or no? And then listen well. But make sure, or maybe better, give it to your enemy. You get a more honest answer. And then just listen to what they say. And if you hear the same thing twice, you got a problem there. And then go back to the drawing board. Otherwise, you can email me and I'll look at it fast. I'll say something nasty about it, and that's fine too if you've got a thick skin and your ego does not get hurt too fast, right?
All right, and you're talking about emailing you. So now tell us how to get in touch with you. If you're on social media or email, as well as you did mention to me in our pre-interview talk that you'll be giving away some review hours. So share that as well.
Okay, now you can get in contact with me if you go Erik Vos on LinkedIn, ERIKVOS. Then you get the picture. It says Pitch Deck Coach. You can send a contact request. I'm a lion, LinkedIn Open Networking. So I always say yes, which is good for you because at least you'll get access to a couple of hundred VCs right away, right? So you don't have to do the paid LinkedIn. Then you can we'll get in contact. You send me what you got. I'll try to send the pitch deck too. I'll respond to everyone, and also I give away for your listeners that are the most promising 10 sessions of 1 hour on the pitch deck review, right? Where I say what you should do, what you shouldn't, how with your particular pitch deck, so you get a better chance for funding. So I hope that this is a bit helpful for the listeners and the entrepreneurs in your amongst your listeners.
I mean, this is amazing. 10 1-hour sessions. Yes, that is uber amazing.
Oh, no problem. I'm just trying. No, you see, I'm just trying to stay busy here because I don't want to go to Jamaica again. I have to go over Miami, and that's a nightmare.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I've been talking with Erik Vos, and of course, Erik is Pitch Deck Coach, 13-time serial entrepreneur, author of 6 books translated into 21 languages. He's a speaker. He's done it in 8 languages in 91 countries. And so we've been talking about creating that uber amazing pitch deck that secures investment for your startup. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode with Erik Vos. I look forward, my peak performers, to connecting with you next week. In the meantime, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn as Heneka Watkis-Porter, and on Twitter at The Entrepreneurial You. So at The Entrep You, if you look for me there. Let's connect. Remember, you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. What good? As you know, it does take work to produce one 30-minute podcast episode, which is a joy for me. Perhaps you're wondering if you could contribute to this work, and the answer is yes. For as little as $2 per month, you can make a contribution to go a far way. Go to patreon.com/TEY. That's patreon.com/TEY. And there are perks awaiting you right there. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to your support.